What is up, YouTube? Before I get into the video, let me remind you, if you like my videos, hit that like and subscribe button. And also, if you feel the need to support me, hit me up on my Patreon at patreon.com/uncommonramen, capital U, capital R. I do all of this in my free time, so any amount of support can help me bring more of this content to you more often. Okay, today's video is going to be a special video. Let's say that my friends built this deck, and I should say a specific friend built this deck, and they want me to do a deck tech on this that's kind of like an April Fool's type thing, because I was not allowed to look at this deck at all. They told me that I'm not allowed to pull cards out of the sleeves to look at the backs of them, so I just kind of have to know. Or I just don't. And also, the deck is not in order because I was not allowed to look at the deck. So, yeah, we're just gonna go through, I guess. This is Optimus Prime Hero. Jeskai Commander, 3, a blue, a red, and a white. It is a 4/8, I think. Yes, it is a 4/8. That has a more than meets the eye cost that appears to be 2, a blue, a red, and a white. At the beginning of each end step, bolster 1. And when Optimus Prime dies, return it to the battlefield converted under its own. What even is this card? I feel like that's crazy. Okay, so his more than meets the eye side, Optimus Prime Autobot Leader, 6/8 living metal, trample. Whenever you attack, bolster 2. The chosen creature gains trample until end of turn. When that creature deals combat damage to a player, this turn, convert Optimus Prime. Okay, so this guy is 5 to get out on more than meets the eye, and seems like a pain in the butt to get rid of. Alright, so we're going to jump into the deck. Like usual, I would just separate by creatures, but like I said, I have not seen this deck before, so we're just going to go from top to bottom. Starting with Quantum Misalignment, 4 and a blue. Create a token that's a copy of target creature you control, except it isn't legendary. Rebound. That's messed up. We got Seat of Synod, which is an artifact land that taps for blue. We got Treasure Vault, which is a non-basic land, taps for colorless. You can pay 2x and tap this and sacrifice it to create X treasure tokens. We got Talisman of Progress. Oh, that's right. There's another thing about this deck. Apparently, it's supposed to be using a ton of non-magic IPs, as many as they could use without it being a complete trash deck, so yeah, we'll see how that works out. Talisman of Progress. This costs 2. You can tap it for colorless. You can also tap it for white-blue if you have it deal 1 damage to you. Arcane Signet. It costs 2. You can tap it to add 1 mana of your commander's color identity. We're just going to skip past the basics. We got Karlach, Fury of Avernus. This is 4 and a red for a 5/4. Whenever you attack, if it's the first combat phase of the turn, untap all attacking creatures. They gain first strike until end of turn. After this phase, there is an additional combat phase. Choose a background. Research Thief for 4 and a blue. This is a 3/3 with flash and flying. Whenever an artifact creature you control deals combat damage to a player, draw a card. Paladin Dance, Steel Maverick. 2 and a white. This is a 3/3 with vigilance and lifelink. Exile Paladin Dance, Steel Maverick. Each creature you control that's an artifact or a human gains indestructible until end turn. That seems like overkill. Path to Exile. Costs 1. Exile target creature. Its opponent or its controller may search their library for a basic land, put it onto the battlefield tapped. Reckless Handling for 1 and a red. Search your library for an artifact card, reveal it, put it into your hand, then shuffle, then discard a card at random. If an artifact was discarded this way, Reckless Handling deals 2 damage to each opponent. Power Depot. Enters tapped, taps for colorless, and you can tap it to add 1 mana of any color, but you can only spend that mana to cast artifact spells or activate abilities of artifacts. It also has modular 1. Training Center. This is a crowd land for blue-red. Escape Tunnel. You can tap this and sacrifice it to search your library for a basic land card, put it onto the battlefield tapped. or you can tap this and sacrifice it to have target creature with power 2 or less become unblockable until end of turn. Stormcarved Coast is a check land for blue and red. Okay. Storm of the Vault is an easy one. 2 a blue and a red. When one or more creatures you control deal combat damage to a player, create a colorless treasure artifact token. And then at the beginning of your end step, if you control 5 or more artifacts, transform Storm the Vault. And Storm the Vault turns into a Tolarian Academy. You can tap it to add blue to your mana pool equal to the number of artifacts you control. I believe you can tap it for colorless, but I don't remember. And since I'm not allowed to look at it, we're just going to go with that. Battle Bus, which is a Smuggler's Copter. This is 2 for a 3/3 with flying. Whenever Battle Bus attacks or blocks, you may draw a card. If you do, discard a card. Crew 1. 1 with the Machine for 3 and a blue. Draw cards equal to the highest mana value among artifacts you control. Etched Champion. Etched Champion? Really? Oh, this isn't the one I was thinking. This costs 3. This is a 2/2 with Metalcraft. Etched Champion has protection from all colors as long as you control 3 or more artifacts. For some reason, I was thinking of the, was it Sunburst one? Okay, Etched Champion, pretty good. Esper Sentinel. For 1 white, it's a 1/1. Whenever an opponent casts their first creature spell each turn, draw a card unless that player pays X, where X is Esper Sentinel's power. Like I said, we're just going to skip through basics. I'll go through that at the end. Krark Clan Ironworks. This is 4. Sacrifice an artifact. Add 2 to your mana pool. I thought there was supposed to be a budget on this. I swear they said there was supposed to be a budget on this. Sentinel Sarah Lyons. 3, a red and a white. This is a 4/4 with haste. As long as an artifact entered the battlefield under your control this turn, creatures you control get +2/+2. Battalion, whenever Sentinel Sarah Lyons and at least 2 other creatures attack Sentinel Sarah Lyons, deals deals damage equal to the number of artifacts you control to target player. That's incredibly good. That's messed up. Wave Goodbye. 2 and 2 blue. Return each creature without a +1/+1 counter on it to its owner's hand. The Ozolith. Okay, there's clearly no budget to this. It costs 1 whenever a creature you control leaves the battlefield. If it had counters on it, put those counters on the Ozolith at the beginning of combat on your turn. If the Ozolith has counters on it, you may move all counters from the Ozolith to target creature. Aragorn, King of Gondor. This is 1, a blue, a red, and a white for a 4/4 with Vigilance and Lifelink. Whenever Aragorn, King of Gondor, enters the battlefield, you become the monarch. Whenever Aragorn attacks, up to 1 target creature can't block this turn. If you're the monarch, creatures can't block this turn. Wow. This is kind of a messed up deck. Talisman of Creativity for 2. This is you can tap this for 1, or you can tap this for blue-red and have Talisman deal 1 damage to you. We got, this is crazy. Is this a foil? It is. A foil Fallout Soul Ring, which you can tap for 2. It costs 1. Ferris Lake, which is a filter land for blue-red. The 8th Doctor. 4, a white and a blue for a 4/4. When the 8th Doctor enters the battlefield, mill 3 cards. Once during each of your turns, you may play a historic land or cast a historic permanent spell from your graveyard. If you do, it gains this permanent. If this permanent would leave the battlefield, exile it instead of putting it anywhere else. Graveyard Recursion, okay. Windbrisk Heights has Hideaway 4, enters tapped, taps for white, and you can pay a white and tap this to play the exiled card without paying its mana cost, only if you attacked with 3 or more creatures this turn. That seems really good in here, actually. Roaming Throne for 4. This is a 4/4 with Ward 2. As Roaming Throne enters the battlefield, choose a creature type. Roaming Throne is the chosen type, in addition to its other types. If a triggered ability... Oh, that's messed up. If a triggered ability of another creature you control of the chosen type triggers, it triggers an additional time. Thunderhawk Gunship. This is a vehicle that costs 6. It's a 6/6 with flying. When Thunderhawk Gunship enters the battlefield, create 2/2/2 white Astartes warrior creature tokens with vigilance. Whenever Thunderhawk Gunship attacks, attacking creatures you control gain flying until end of turn. Crew 2. That's really good. Master of Ethereum. 2 and a blue, Star. Master of Ethereum's power and toughness are each equal to the number of artifacts you control. Other artifact creatures you control get +1/+1. Even the lands are themed. I like it. All that glitters. For 1 and a white, enchanted creature gets +1/+1 for each artifact or enchantment you control. Great Furnace. It's a artifact land that taps for red. Damning Verdict. For 3 and 2 white, destroy all creatures with no counters on them. Totex Spear, which is a Shadow Spear. This costs 1. Equipped creature gets +1/+1. Has Trample and Lifelink. You can pay 1 to have permanents your opponents control lose hexproof and indestructible until end of turn. And it equips for 2. Winds of Abandon. For 1 and a white. Exile target creature you don't control. For each creature exiled this way, its controller searches their library for a basic land card. Those players put those cards onto the battlefield tapped, then shuffle their libraries. You can overload this for 4 and 2 white. Steel Overseer costs 2. It's a 1/1. You can tap this to put a +1/+1 counter on each artifact creature you control. This is sadistic. Mystic Monastery, a triome that enters tapped, taps for blue, red, and white. Canine Mark 1 costs 1 blue. It's a 1/1. As long as Canine Mark 1 is untapped, other legendary creatures you control have Ward 1, and you can pay 1 and a blue and tap this to have target legendary creature become unblockable until end of turn. It has Doctor's Companion as well. Ancient Den is an artifact land that taps for white. Glimmer Void, if there's no artifacts in play at the end of your turn, you have to sacrifice it. You can also tap this for any color. Illustrious Wanderglyph. This is 4 and a white for a 2/2 with Ascend. Other artifact creatures you control get +2/+2 as long as you have the City's Blessing. And at the beginning of each upkeep. At the beginning of each upkeep, create a 1/1 colorless gnome artifact creature token. This is sadistic because at the beginning of each upkeep you can also, or each end step, you can also bolster them. That's so mean. Exchange of Words? Really? Okay. 1 and 2 blue. This is whatever they called it. Galaxy Foil. When an Exchange of Words enters the battlefield, choose 2 target creatures. For as long as Exchange of Words remains on the battlefield, exchange the text boxes of those creatures. Okay. Jetfire, Ingenious Scientist. For 4 and a blue, this is a 3/4. It's more than meets the eye. Cost is 3 and a blue. It has flying. Remove 1 or more +1/+1 counters from among artifacts you control. Target player adds that much colorless mana. This mana can't be spent to cast non-artifact spells, and then convert Jetfire. And I think... oh gosh. His other side, I swear, has... oh my gosh. What is that ability where... adapt. It has like an adapt ability. Some amount of mana, you adapt it for some amount. That's what I think it does. It adapts. You pay some amount of mana and put +1/+1 counters on it. I don't know. I'm not allowed to look. Rustvale Bridge. Enters tapped, is indestructible, is an artifact land that taps for red or white. Ian Malcolm, Chaotician. 1, a blue, and a red. This is a 2/2. Whenever a player draws their second card each turn, that player exiles the top card of their library. During each player's turn, that player may cast a spell from among the cards they don't own exiled with Ian Malcolm Chaotician, and mana of any type can be spent to cast it. Is this a chaos deck? I feel like this is such a weird deck. Spectator Seating. This is a crowd land for red-white. Semblance Anvil. For 3, this has imprint. When Semblance Anvil enters the battlefield, you may exile a non-land card from your hand. Spells you cast that share a card type with the exiled card cost 2 less to cast. Okay. Spire of Industry. You can tap this for colorless, or you can tap this and pay a life to add 1 mana of any color. Activate only if you control an artifact. Championship Mountain. Interesting. Wake the Past. 5, a red, and a white. Return all artifact cards from your graveyard to the battlefield. They gain haste until end of turn. This deck is messed up. Skycloud Expanse, a filter land for white-blue. Dispatch, for 1 white, tap target creature. If you have Metalcraft, you can exile that creature instead. Metalcraft is having 3 or more artifacts. Sulphur Falls, this is a check land for blue-red. Liberator, Urza's Battlethopter. For 3, this is a 1/2 with flash and flying. You may cast colorless spells and artifact spells as though they had flash. Whenever you cast a spell, if the amount of mana spent to cast the spell is greater than Liberator Urza's Battlethopter's power, put a +1/+1 counter on Liberator. Fabricate, for 2 and a blue. Search your library for an artifact card, reveal it, put it into your hand, then shuffle. Clifftop Retreat, a check land for red-white. Round 2, which is Seize the Day, for 3 and a red. Untap target creature. After this main phase, there is an additional combat phase followed by an additional main phase. And it has flashback for 2 and a red. Thought Vessel, for 2. You have no maximum hand size. You can tap this for colorless. Mech Titan Core. This costs 2. It's a 2/4. It has crew 2. You can also pay 5 and exile Mech Titan Core and 4 other artifact creatures and or vehicles you control to create Mech Titan, a legendary 10/10 construct artifact creature token with flying, vigilance, trample, lifelink, and haste. That's all colors. When that token leaves the battlefield, return all cards exiled with Mech Titan Core except Mech Titan Core to the battlefield tapped under its owner's control. That's kind of mean in here. Alright. We got Brotherhood Vertibird. This costs 3. It's a star 4. Flying Brotherhood Vertibird's power is equal to the number of artifacts you control, and it has crew 2. Encroaching Mycosynth. 3 and a blue, non-land permanents you control are artifacts in addition to their other types. The same is true for permanent spells you control and non-land permanent cards you own that aren't on the battlefield. Okay, so just a question for the creator. I know he'll watch this eventually. If you had no budget, why aren't you running Mycosynth Lattice as well? But that's my question. It might be in here, who knows. Thoughtcast, 4 and a blue. Affinity for artifacts, draw 2 cards. Toretti, Scrap Savant. Okay, 3 and a red. This costs, or it enters with 3 loyalty. For +2 loyalty, discard up to 2 cards, then draw that many cards. For -2 loyalty, sacrifice an artifact. If you do, return target artifact card from your graveyard to the battlefield. And for -10, you get an emblem with whenever an artifact is put into a graveyard with from the battlefield, return that card to the battlefield at the beginning of the next end step. Classic artifact commander. Cybertron, which is also Command Tower. You can tap this for Commander's color identity. 1 mana from that. Organic Extinction costs 8 and 2 white. It has Improvise and it destroys all non-artifact creatures. Lae'zel, Blackkeith's champion. Alright, I see you. 2 and a white for a 3/3. If you would put 1 or more counters on a creature or planeswalker you control, or on yourself, put that many +1 of each of those kinds of counters on that permanent or player instead. Choose a background. Seasoned Dungeoneer for 3 and a white. This is a 3/4. When Seasoned Dungeoneer enters the battlefield, you take the initiative. Whenever you attack, target attacking cleric, rogue, warrior, or wizard gains protection from creatures until end of turn. It explores. Optimus is a robot. I wonder what the target for this is. And are we assuming that Dungeons and Dragons is not part of Magic, I guess? Buried Ruin. You can tap this for colorless, or you can pay 2 and tap this and sacrifice it to return an artifact from your graveyard to your hand. Lightning Greaves for 2. Equipped creature has haste and shroud. Equips for 0. Prowl. Okay, this... Prowl is 3 and a white for a 3/3, more than meets the eye for 2 and a white. Whenever Prowl attacks, exile up to 1 other target tapped creature or vehicle. For as long as that remains exiled, its owner may play it. Whenever a player plays a card exiled with Prowl, you may draw a card and convert Prowl. It is a 2/3 on the other side, and I believe says something about when creatures come into play, it gets counters, and then it flips after it gets a certain amount of counters or after a certain number of triggers. I don't remember. I do run this, so I should remember, but I don't. Glacial Fortress. Check land for white, blue. The Indomitable. For 2 and 2 blue, this is a 6/6 with trample. Whenever a creature you control deals combat damage to a player, draw a card. Crew 3, you may cast the Indomitable from your graveyard as long as you control 3 or more tapped pirates and or vehicles. This is a vehicle deck, isn't it? This is the one that you said was better than my Alayla deck. Gimli the Glittering Caves. 2 and a red for a 1/1 double strike. Whenever another legendary creature enters the battlefield under your control, put a +1/+1 counter on Gimli the Glittering Caves. And whenever Gimli deals combat damage to a player, create a treasure token. Permission denied. For 1 white and 1 blue, counter target non-creature spell. Your opponents cannot cast non-creature spells this turn. Seems powerful. Liquid Metal Torque. This costs 2, you can tap it for colorless, or you can tap it to have target non-land permanent become an artifact in addition to its other types until end of turn. Got Alibu, Ancient Witness. For 3, a red and a white, this is a 4/5 other artifact. Creatures you control have haste. Whenever 1 or more artifact creatures you control attack, Alibu, Ancient Witness deals X damage to any target, and you scry X, where X is the number of tapped artifacts you control. Mechagodzilla, okay. Mechagodzilla Battle Fortress for 2X. This is actually Hangerback Walker. It's a 0/0. Enters the battlefield with X +1/+1 counters on it. When Hangerback Walker dies, create a 1/1 colorless Thopter artifact creature token with flying for each +1/+1 counter on Hangerback Walker. And you can also pay 1 and tap this to put a +1/+1 counter on Hangerback Walker. Pip-Boy 3000. This costs 1. Whenever equipped creature attacks, choose 1. Draw a card, then discard a card, or put a +1/+1 counter on that creature, or untap up to 2 target lands, and it equips for 2. Foundry Inspector for 3. This is a 3/2. Artifact spells you cast cost 1 less to cast. The Allspark for 2, which is just a doubling cube. 3, tap, double the amount of each type of unspent mana you have. The backside is just a different art of it. The Pride Wind, Steel Flagship. 4 and 2 white for a 6/6 with flying. Whenever another non-token artifact enters the battlefield under your control, create a 2/2 white human knight creature token with this creature gets +2/+2 as long as an artifact entered the battlefield under your control this turn. As Crew 2. Canoptic Spider. This is 5 for a 4/4 with flying. Whenever another non-token artifact, creature, or vehicle enters the battlefield under your control, draw a card. Academy Ruins. Taps for colorless, or you can pay 1 and a blue and tap this to put target artifact card from your graveyard on top of your library. Enthusiastic Mechanaut. For 1 blue and 1 red, this is a 2/2 with flying. Artifact spells you cast cost 1 less to cast. Talisman of Conviction. For 2, this taps for colorless, or you can tap it for red-white and have Talisman deal 1 damage to you. And I believe that's the last card. Exotic Orchard. I thought there was going to be way more MDFCs in here. Exotic Orchard. You can tap this to add 1 mana of any color that a land an opponent controls produces. Okay, we're going to look at basic lands here. Give me a second to sort through these. Because I pulled them aside. Alright, so we have 1, 2, 3 islands. 1, 2, 3 mountains. And 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 plains. So that is the very demented Optimus Prime hero deck. I don't understand the chaos that is this deck, but it is really powerful in practice. I watched it, actually played against it. It does its things and then some. Also, it feels like a vehicle deck. But yeah, Optimus Prime Hero. If you have any questions or comments, leave them down below. I will get to them as soon as I can. Please keep it positive. I will remove any negative comments. And also, again, I know absolutely nothing about this deck. There is no Moxfield entry that I'm aware of. This was a friend's deck. So yeah, happy late April Fools, everyone. Until next time. Peace.